All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you aboard tonight. We take you inside the world of crime and justice, and we begin with the case of Lori Vallow-Daybell, the so-called doomsday cult mom. Big news to talk about tonight, so we've got to bring in the best of the best. My partners in crime and justice with me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Banfield, Julie Grant, and Ted Rollins, all here and accounted for. And folks, I want to begin tonight. And the more I think about this case, the more it seems that Lori Vallow's niece could be the key to everything here. And I say that, let's put it up on the screen. There was a defense request for discovery in this case. Let's take a look at what the defense, Lori Vallow's team, wants their hands on. All records, documents, email records, messages, emails, communications, calendars, text messages, computer, electronic, forensically obtained documents, records, or the like, related to the confiscated electronic devices of, drum roll please, Mrs. Melanie Pulowski, formerly known as Melanie Boudreau, Mr. Ian Pulowski, and or Mr. Brandon Boudreau. So there you have it. You've got the defense maybe a little bit worried about this, a little bit. So Ted, let me go to you first. This focus on Melanie and her records could be the key to the whole case for either side here.
Yeah, and if you look at the divorce that went on between Brandon, still going on, the child custody battle between Brandon and Melanie, you get a feeling of where this was going with Melanie. She was right there with her Aunt Lori Daybell, according to Brandon Boudreau, saying that she was going down the same path. She was following basically the same path that Lori Vallow is. So she knows something. That's the bottom line here, right? And the question for the defense is, what did she tell investigators? What has Melanie said? They want to know what she has already told them. I think she absolutely, like you said, is the key to this entire case. She could blow it up one way, or if she stays silent, she stays silent, which is what the defense wants here. But if she has already gone to prosecutors and detectives and said, listen, fine, I'll tell you what I know, then yes, absolutely, Vinny, she could blow this thing up.
Yeah, to me, she is the one that can unlock everything in this case. Now, something else that we uncovered today, a picture of Lori's sister's gravestone, because there is another body that we're talking about here. Ashley, and this also has a connection to Melanie.
It does. This is Melanie's mom. And we discovered this yesterday. We discovered that Melanie's mom had died 22 years ago when she was just 31. Turns out Melanie just turned 31, and she put out a Facebook post on her birthday on Friday when she turned 31. I want to read something because it's tangential to this case. She said, "Today is my 31st birthday. Last year, my world turned upside down as family and friends turned their backs on me. Worst of all, my 4 beautiful children have unjustly been kept from me since October." She went on to say, "And to you, Braxton, Brighton, Blake, and Breeze," I can only assume those are her 4 children, "I celebrate you today and how much love I have for you." So that's fascinating, Vinny, because as it turns out, Melanie says she's been separated from these kids since October. Her mother, whose gravesite you just showed, she said that she was separated from her mother at age 6, unjustly so. And also the significance of the picture that you just looked at, if we can just look at it again. This is what the grave looks like today. This is a fresh photograph since the groundskeepers at the cemetery went and cleaned it all off. Last night we reported to you that it was discovered the grave was completely covered, mud, grown over, it had been unkept. This is what the groundskeepers have done. They've cleaned it all around. You can see they've taken all the mud off. There's no grass around the outside, and you can't see that vase on the outside, but it had been left empty. But, you know, when the cemetery administrators heard about this request and then went and saw the actual grave, they saw it was in a terrible state. And so they dispatched their groundskeepers to clean it up. And that's the result, what you just saw.
You know, Julie, as Ashley's reading those Facebook posts from Lori's niece, Melanie, I sense it is someone who is having a difficult time, someone who has a lot inside, and someone that could crack. And I really think that's what prosecutors need, is someone to crack, someone who has that inside information as to what was going on inside this world that was created by Lori and Chad Daybell.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Vinny. She is integral to this case, and we've discussed that time and time again, and we can see this is being evidenced in these discovery documents with this request by the defense. Of course, they want to know what Melanie knows or has said, and you wonder if the feds have already asked her to cooperate in perhaps engaging Lori Vallow-Daybell in some discussions while she's in the jail. Who knows what's been done? But as I said last night, and I'll say it again, Melanie Boudreau needs to cooperate. That is in her best interest, to cooperate. And as far as we know, she has. She's turned over her electronic devices, her laptop, her apartment has been searched, and we know she was very, very close to her Aunt Lori. And I wonder, in that language, you put it up at the top of the show, Vinny, I wonder in that discovery language if it may even be a little too broad. Because taking a step back, let's remember this investigation is about child abandonment. The children belonging to not Melanie Boudreau, but to Lori Vallow, who is still very smugly defying that court order that's been in place since January to show the world that those beautiful kids are still alive, Vinny.
Yeah, and you can see prosecutors objecting to it, and maybe the judge's got to make the decision on exactly what they're entitled to at this point, because again, there's no murder charges here yet. Not at all. So there's a bail hearing that is scheduled for Friday. Everyone's telling us out of East Idaho, Idaho, that it's going to happen. It's going to happen, this bail hearing. So Ted spoke with the former Attorney General of Idaho. Let's take a listen.
Well, there's always a chance when a bail hearing is revisited to have some new circumstance presented. She is an unlikely candidate to be able to successfully contend that she's not a flight risk, having previously fled the state to Hawaii, having previously failed to come back when ordered to do so, and now facing not only that charge of contempt, but other serious criminal charges, including 2 felony charges of desertion. She has a chance, but I wouldn't believe that it would be reduced to a very low level by the new magistrate.
I'll tell you what, the defense is coming out very aggressive. Read the new papers that they filed for the bail reduction. And again, saying this is an emergency. This cannot get a new date, Ted. This needs to happen because there's an ongoing violation of Lori Vallow's constitutional rights. I think the defense is coming in guns blazing at this bail hearing.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some potential. They've got some actual arguments here. First of all, one of the way that the jail is dealing with the COVID-19 issue is that the attorneys and the clients, they have to speak through glass and telephones, and we can't do that. We can't prepare for the preliminary hearing coming up in this fashion. Plus, you listened to and recorded my conversation with my client. They have some ammunition. But let's face it, what judge is going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to let Lori Vallow out? The other point that could be made from the prosecution is she is an absolute threat. She is a dangerous individual. Brandon Boudreau is living in hiding with his children because he is concerned about her, Daybell, and the rest of this crew, and he has every right to be concerned when you look at a number of bodies that have been piled up.
You know, Boudreau spoke about the missing kids. Let's take a listen because, again, this isn't someone who was on the inside and can give a little bit more information into this world of Lori Vallow-Daybell.
Spent the last 11 years of my life spending time with Lori and her now deceased husband, Charles. I don't know what happened to those kids. I know that there's people who do and they're not talking. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Ashley, this is never going to make sense necessarily unless you get into the mindset of of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell and the way they see the world, because from the outside looking in, it does not make sense to anyone here.
Well, it sure doesn't make sense to the Idaho State Prosecutor. I did a little digging on this. In fact, today, Vinny, there was an extremely broad request for discovery that went into the prosecutors in April, and they responded. And the language they used probably gives us some insight as to how they're going to respond to this most recent request for the communications between Brandon and Melanie and others. And let me just read for you a little bit about what they said according to azfamily.com. The prosecutor named Rob Wood said he objected to Vallow's request. The deaths of the above mentioned individuals are irrelevant to the desertion of the minor children who are the subject of the above captioned case. That's what Julie was saying. This doesn't pertain to the murder. She's only charged with abandonment. She can't have all this discovery. He went on to say, the request would require the state to collect evidence for the defendant. The request is vague, overly broad, unduly burdensome, and may include attorney work product. So that was the response from, according to azfamily.com, that was the response from the prosecutors to her first extraordinarily broad request for production of evidence. And let's see what they have to say this time around.
Yeah, Julie, from my perspective, it looks like what the defense wants to do is find out, hey, what do prosecutors know? What do investigators have on her? What information, and because they're definitely concerned about these murder investigations. I mean, that's the big ticket item here. This is a serious charge as well, the abandonment, but the big ticket item are all these people who have died.
Yes, Vinny and Ashley, to your points, you are right. And that's exactly what I thought when I saw that was the first veerment in their discovery motion, was that request for all of those communications from Melanie and from Brandon and from Ian. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, time out here. None of them were legal guardians to JJ and Ty Lee. Those children were not entrusted into their care. Sounds to me like they're fishing around to see what else they can find pertaining to the investigation into these 3 deaths. And to Ashley's point, yes, when that last motion came out a few weeks back, when they were doing the same thing, the prosecutor wasn't pleased with that. So number one, we don't even know if all this is discoverable, right? They can make the request, but ultimately it's up to the judge. And judges do have broad discretion when it comes to what is turned over in discovery. But certainly the state can dispute this. And as Ashley said, they probably will, based on their indications in the last motion. And so there are certain things that are mandatory discovery, things, of course, we know to be exculpatory, things that could negate Lori Vallow's guilt. And if any of those folks are witnesses to be used in this child abandonment prosecution, then absolutely any statements they made would have to be turned over. But no, just to say, let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink at you, defense team, because you asked for it. No, don't think that is going to happen, Vinny.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is going fishing for some spaghetti to throw against the wall. There we go. Mm-hmm. 2 cliches combined there, folks. Yep. All right.
Yep. You got it. Well done.
We will discuss more of this coming up. And again, the bail hearing is on Friday, May 1st. Friday, May 1st. Of course, we're going to be covering that. Now, court continues in other cases, around the country. There's some jury trials even happening. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But Letitia Stout, the one accused of murdering her stepson, little 11-year-old Gannon, she's set to be in court. We're going to talk about that when we come back.